It's easy to assume that selling your house will fund your retirement, but is it realistic? How much money does downsizing actually free up? I'm Mark Leishman, and I'll be asking Hannah McQueen that very question.
I was asked this a lot when I worked as a financial advisor. So welcome back to the next bit, Bite-Sized.
So Hannah, when you were working in your financial role as an advisor, how often did people assume that their house would be their saviour, that their retirement fund was the house?
Almost always.
Mm-hmm.
Those who had more money, they wanted the house to go to the kids, or kind of the savings of that house to go to the kids. But for those who don't have enough money for retirement or haven't really done anything towards their retirement, there was an assumption that the home was going to right all wrongs.
Mm. Is that many people? Are a lot of people like that?
Almost everyone.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, like the top 5% might be fine, but the rest are relying on something other than KiwiSaver.
Right.
On the assumption they don't want to adjust their goals or priorities. Like, you can always spend less and need less.
Yes.
But most don't want to do that, at least to start with.
And do most overestimate what the value of that house is?
I think that most people assess the value of their home on a good day. And that's a bias, right? And on a good day, they might get what they expect, and you might get what it's worth. They don't necessarily compute that what it's worth isn't necessarily what someone's prepared to pay for it. And just because you like it doesn't mean that the market's going to pay a premium for it. And so that's always an uncomfortable process. It's just, and you've gone through it, most of us have gone through it a couple of times in our lifetime, certainly before retirement. The problem with retirement is that's probably one of the last cards you've got to play. Like you have been dining out on that being your white knight coming in to save you. And that's where it gets a little bit precarious. Because there's been gaps where I had a client where the real estate agent suggested they'd get, they do, a huge amount, and maybe they would have, but then the market doesn't present purchasers that are prepared to go to that level, if they were even in the first place. And there could be like hundreds of thousands of dollars of swing in that, and if you're counting on that for your retirement, that puts you in a bit of a pickle.
The other scenario, of course, is that once that's happened and you're looking at a house to buy, a downsize house, often you overestimate what you're selling and underestimate what you're hoping to buy. Yes,
that happens more frequently than I guess people are prepared to acknowledge. There's a few reasons. It's because you've got a more expensive property, fewer people can afford to buy that property, so you don't kind of have the market pushing its value up. In addition to that, it's usually an older property. You've been in it for a while, and older properties don't get the same value as newer properties. You're wanting to buy a property that has less maintenance. Normally that is part of the downsizing kind of equation. And you want it to be new by default or close to new, so there is no maintenance. And you want it to be warm and all of these things, and your house probably was single glazed, you're going to double glaze. All that means is that you tend to be paying a premium for what you're getting, and more people can afford it, so they're pushing the price up. And so there's just this mismatch of what the trade-off is. Like you often have given up a lot. Like you might have gone from a 4-bedroom lifestyle block to a 2-bedroom unit. Like, that is a big difference, but it might only translate to a few $100,000. And in reality, that translates to, on average, 3 to 3.5 years of funding your retirement shortfall. So it's peanuts, and that's disappointing. So you kind of have the disappointment of you never got what you wanted for your property or what you thought you could have got, probably because of your own bias, but you never got that. You paid through the odds for what you are getting, and it's bought you a little bit. That's the reality for a lot of people. Can be done better.
What are some of the big costs that people perhaps don't
attribute or think about?
Yeah, you'll forget factor.
Yeah, the main costs are what you need to do to prepare the house for sale. obviously the selling of the property. Sometimes you've got to put your property into storage. So you've got the initial renovation and tidy up. You've got the selling cost.
You've got the commission, the marketing, all those things.
That's part of that selling cost. You've got the storage where you might need to put it. If the place you're moving to isn't yet rented, then you've got short-term accommodation. Isn't yet available for you to move into. You've got short-term accommodation. You might even need to do up something on that house. I mean, that happens more than it should, where people think, well, I'm going to downsize to this, but I'm going to do a bit of titivating on the new house because it's not quite right. And then they use some of that downsize money just to make their house better. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. But it's a thing, and you've got to love where you live. I understand that, but you also want to live some good years, and you usually need money to do that.
And the other thing, of course, do people factor in the fact that they're going from a big house to a smaller house, which won't have as much room, space for all the goods that you've collected over the...
You're normally at least 50%, but as much to 70% of your stuff has to go as part of that downsize.
As much as that, 70%?
Can be, yeah. Certainly if you're moving into a retirement village. So a lot of people actually put that into storage as opposed to selling it. But I'd also argue that the people who can afford the retirement village aren't the ones who
have the problem.
Are having the problem in the first place.
Yes, exactly. Does downsizing, does it generally solve a financial issue? Or?
Well, it buys you time.
Yeah.
That's what it does. So if you're KiwiSaver money, you've hit 65, you're getting your superannuation in, you've ignored my advice, so you stopped working at 65, your KiwiSaver balance is supplementing your income. You probably took the bit of my advice, which was live well between 65 to 70, but then ignored the rest. So then your KiwiSaver's running out. So at that point, you need to have downsized your home. So you've got to give yourself enough runway to do that. And if you don't, then you're getting a reverse mortgage. That is the reality. You either sell the house or you try and access the equity in the house. I mean, the negative kind of extreme is that the house will be sold for you. There are so many ways to prevent that happening.
If someone's counting on downsizing for their retirement, what should they be checking before they actually go ahead?
Well, the first thing you should do is go onto a property website and look at similar houses to yours to get an idea of what they're selling for. Call your local real estate agent. They will give you a price. Also call a couple of competing agents. The question you probably want to ask them is not what they think the house is worth, because they're going to tell you what you want to hear. That's just part of that onboarding process. It's not helpful. Ask them how close they are to, historically, do they sell houses? How close is it to when their appraisal of the house? Because that's what you want to know. Like if they are averaging 10 or 20% below what they've appraised it at, you need to factor that into your numbers. There's no emotion attached to it. It's just they've anchored you to an appraisal which probably isn't particularly helpful or relevant. So understand what you're likely to get, and then look at houses that you like, that you're prepared to move to, and work out what they're pricing. So that gives you an indication of what you could realise on a good day.
We've talked about when should you downsize in another program that we've done, but for those who may not have heard that, what is perhaps one big mistake people make when it comes to this?
They downsize too late.
Too late.
Yep. And when you do it too late, you shorten your runway. And when you've shortened your runway, you've increased the odds of you not maximising what you could have got, or you've made it easier for it to be kind of a waste of time.
But how do you know? How do you know when to flick the switch?
Well, you'd look at, if we're talking about those who are in retirement, their savings are depleting. So they know that it's coming down. And if your savings are depleting, it won't take much to work out, well, what did they go down by last year if you were retired? The balance that you've got divided by what they went down last year tells you how many years your KiwiSaver is going to stretch to if you make no other adjustments. If that is less than 3 years, now is the time to start preparing for downsizing.
Is it a smart move, downsizing?
Absolutely. It's the one time your home becomes a productive asset. It's fantastic. But it is also one of the most important maneuvers you make. You need to maximise it.
Right. Yeah, fantastic advice. I think this is the bit people don't love hearing. The house isn't a magic money machine.
Look, it can help, but it's not a strategy on its own.
If you want more honest conversations about retirement, money, and aging well, follow the next bit.
And if you want to age well and keep your independence for longer, we can also help with that at Brightly. Visit our website agebrightly.co.nz. We'll see you next time.